Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have myself a drink, and we're going to tackle another one of my philosophical questions. This one being, is justice equitable or subjective? And I'm Blue Monkey Sparkling Watermelon Juice Drink, along with Devil's Food Vodka. So chocolate watermelon, because you guys apparently like seeing me drink weird stuff. This is so old there are particles floating in it. Yeah. It's a year and 6 months out of date. Okay. Now this is again why I do this in these videos, is because I have, I purchased this for a review some time ago. I drank one, I wrote a review, I then forgot about it, and now it's looking at me. I wish you guys could see these little particles floating around like boba or something, I probably shouldn't drink this, but then be honest with you, the alcohol should kill any bacteria. But anyway, for every 1,000 subscribers I get, I do purchase one of these bracelets from the company 4Ocean. That's for all 6 of my channels. So if you would be so kind as to comment, like, and subscribe, you'd be doing your part for a better world. Now, that tastes strange. It's still changing its flavor in my mouth. Whew. Chocolate watermelon ain't no joke. Anyway, so basically the question is justice justice? I mean, should we hold people in the past to the same standards as modern justice, knowing that in the future we will likely be held to a different standard than one we understand? And the thing there is, we as human beings tend to be very ignorant. You take, for example, the institution of slavery. Slavery has not been abolished in America. There are all kinds of slaves in America. Most of them are in prison. At one point, laws were specifically written to enslave minorities so that we could send them to prison and use them for hard labor, all right? That's the modern day, okay? And we flash back, 2 centuries ago, and, you talk about how terrible slavery was. Well, send back to the Roman Empire, and, in Rome, everyone who wasn't rich was a slave. You didn't hire somebody to cook for you. You purchased somebody to cook for you. Somewhere in my ancestry, there are slaves. We are all, pretty much, the children of slaves at some point. What used to happen in the world was, you lost a war, took a bunch of people as slaves, sold those people, that's how you paid for the war. War was a form of business in the time. This was wrong and horrible. And despite the fact that at the time it was considered just how things were, it doesn't make it any less wrong and horrible, okay? But then you have, what do you do with George Washington? George Washington owned slaves because everyone did. And that was wrong, objectively. Does this make him a bad person? I guess. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't a perfect person. No one is. If you're looking for a person without fault, you will find none. So when we look at Washington, we should probably recognize the fact that he was an imperfect person, but he did bring us closer to a more perfect union. So, I mean, it's very problematic when you examine human beings and morality. Is it less of a thing if Washington treated all of his slaves well? Do we know how he treated his slaves? He was cash poor and land rich. He had to borrow money to move his family to Washington to be president, and he had to borrow money to move his family back to Virginia. I think it was Virginia. I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't know much about Washington. I mean, no matter who you look at in human history, you're going to find that they did some good things and some bad things. I am told that Hitler really liked dogs. I really like dogs. That's not a bad thing. Hitler was still a terrible person. Okay? Martin Luther King Jr. was a womanizer. Right? Or so I'm told. I haven't looked into it. Again, I don't really care. But that wasn't a good thing. But he was a great man who did wonderful things for this country. My old man used to actually talk about how he agreed with some of the philosophies of the Reverend Farrakhan. He believed that black people should have more pride. That's how my father put it. The African Americans should take more pride in their work and should have more pride in their employment status, and that's something he said. Is it true? I don't know. It's something he said. But, well, I mean, you can always get behind, no matter who they are, somebody taking better care of themselves, so long as they hurt no one else. So, justice, well, I mean, justice will always be justice. And the fact that we keep people as slaves in the modern day is not just, in my opinion. All right? It's morally arguable, I guess. These are people that broke the law, and now we treat them as slaves. We use them for cheap labor. I don't think that's right. I think that no matter who a person is or what they've done, they should be compensated reasonably for their labor. If I may make the point, you look at somebody in prison. They have free food, they have free clothing, but they still have a family. And if you look at a man, let's just say he stole a car, all right? Now you're forcing him to work and you're not paying him, okay? So he gets a letter from his mama saying, I'm hungry. He can't afford to give his mother money. He can't support his mother. That's not right. But then if this man who has his mother to support is going to get paid for his labor, why not a single person who committed the same crime? So maybe inmates should have some kind of a minimum wage, and it should be federal, Maybe they should be entitled to, we'll just say 50% of the minimum wage while incarcerated, and all their needs are otherwise met. Okay? If they have, for example, alimony payments, okay, we have to give this person the opportunity to work, to support their family, to support their children, so that those children don't have to resort to crime to survive, so that they don't wind up in prison. Our goal as a society should be that prisons are, basically empty. For-profit prisons are a bad thing. Anyway. So, yeah, I think justice is justice no matter what. In the future, people may look at my life and say that I didn't live a very just one. And I don't know how I feel about that. You can't try the dead. You can't arrest the dead. And you can't make the dead pay for their transgressions. So we should, in truth, recognize the people of the past for what they are. Although, let's also point out here that, when people do things like name a military base after a Confederate, well, that's a bad thing. Those were the bad guys. We shouldn't do that. So, it's a complicated topic. We should always struggle to make our justice objective and to understand why justice is what it is. We should also always struggle to understand the past and accept the fact that things happened and we can't change them. Anyway, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below. I, of course, am Richard. Hey, Astro, did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Yeah, Nance, I heard the food was good, but it had no atmosphere. Now that was a corny joke, but you know what isn't a joke? A clean environment. And this channel will buy one of these bracelets I'm holding from 4Ocean for every 1,000 subscribers it gets. So you should comment, like, and subscribe. Support us so we can support a better world.